of his initial thoughts on the president's address. John, so great to have you with us this evening. Can you just take us through what are some of your initial thoughts on this particular address?
Well, I think it was a very unique address. It's the first address made for the Government of National Unity, of which the DA is a part. And I was very pleased to see some of the suggestions that the DA has taken to the table. Some of the manifesto promises we made to South Africans during the course of the election were now included in the speech. I think it was a very good synthesis of the parties to the GNU. And I think the president was also open. There are areas that there's still disagreement, things like the NHI. We all want universal access to basic health care for all South African citizens, regardless of their economic status. I think there's a little bit of difference about how we do that. But I think that's something that we're going to focus on over the coming weeks and months, about how we can build a compromise around that so we can actually have universal access to basic health care. But I certainly was very pleased to see the DA's plan around the expanding the basket of basic VAT-free items so we can ensure that poorer families are able to put more food on the table at a more affordable price. Things like the administered petrol price being looked at, master plans being looked at, turning South Africa into a construction site, which has been Dean McPherson's announcements in the last couple of days. So I think it is a new era in South Africa. The era of one-party domination is over. The speech in February was an ANC speech. The speech this evening was a GNU speech. And I'm very pleased that we are able to go into government, not for government's sake, but to actually make a difference in the lives of ordinary South Africans. I promised South Africans at home during the course of the election that we would do whatever it takes to rescue South Africa. Because frankly, if one looks at what is on the other side of the aisle in Parliament, it is the breakers, it is the shouters, it is the dividers. We've chosen deliberately to be part of the builders. People are going to work together constructively and cooperatively to build a better South Africa for all of our citizens. We all have families, we all want South Africa to succeed, and we all want to be able to live in a country with a growing economy, with inclusive growth, with jobs being created, with more opportunities for more people, and where we can end poverty in a generation. That is the work the DA is going to be involved in, and we are going to be firmly on the side of the builders, and we're going to ignore the efforts of the EFF and MK, who are the dividers and the breakers in South Africa. It's very easy to break. It's a lot more complex to work together. And I thought this evening the analogy of the weaver birds working together to build something sustainable and lasting to provide shelter and protection for our people is the right analogy. And we've got to harness the best efforts of the private sector, the public sector, South African citizens out there. So South African citizens have a choice. You need to strengthen our hand and become part of the builders. And let's drown out the breakers. Let's unite around a program of action that's going to build our country up for the better. We promised you we were going to rescue South Africa, and that is exactly what we're busy doing here in the GNU and what we're going to continue to do over the course of the 5-year period. We cannot allow a situation where the breakers get into the union buildings. They will tear up the Constitution. They will abolish the rule of law. They will take away private property rights, and they will crash our economy into the depths. We have to prevent that, and that means we have to all stand together and work together, shoulder to shoulder, to prevent the doomsday scenario from taking place and allow the GNU of builders to get out there and make the difference.
And I think what is also important is the highlighting of builders and breakers. Can you just maybe tell us more about that?
Well, I think if you look at the tactics of the EFF and MK, if you look at their manifestos, they want to abolish the Constitution. They want to end private property rights. They want to get rid of the courts and allow Parliament to be sovereign. So your life and your life choices will be determined just simply by a parliamentary majority vote. These are things that will take South Africa back to the days of authoritarianism and abuse of power. We've also seen how the EFF looted the VBS Bank, stealing from our gogos and stokvels and savings clubs and small business owners. Their futures were robbed and destroyed. And where did that money go? It went to go and pay for fancy parties and fancy clothes and lifestyles. And while our poor people were left destitute. Look at who's sitting on the benches of MK. These were the architects of state capture. There you've got them there, Des van Rooyen, John Steenhuizen, all of those people who facilitated the Gupta's takeover of the country are sitting there on the MK benches. We must not let them in to the seats of power because they will destroy the country. They are the breakers. The DA and the other parties to the GNU are the builders. And that's why I'm calling on all South Africans to strengthen our hand. Unite behind the DA, because we will help build South Africa and seek out like-minded parties who are going to help us build the country going forward.
John, before I let you go, for the people listening at home, just your final thought on, as the GNU kicks off, what is your final thought to the people at home who gave their vote to the DA? What is your message for them?
Well, my message to all of you is to say thank you, first of all, to the 3.5 million people who voted for us. We will be good stewards of your vote, and we will make sure, as we promised you, that we will rescue South Africa. And that is exactly what we're going to do every day. But the struggle doesn't end here. We've got by-elections coming up and right all around the country. We need you to come out and vote for the DA in those by-elections so that you strengthen our hand at those local government levels as well. We need you to come out in big numbers, make sure you're registered for the 2026 local government election. We need you to strengthen our hand as the DA in those municipalities so that we can be the largest party setting up coalitions in those municipalities. We need you to assist us with funds. We need you to reach out and be part of building South Africa with us. Never before has it been more important for you to be involved in the DA. Join your local branch, find your local structures, get involved at a constituency level, and join us as we build South Africa into the wonderful country we know it can be, and which we can work every day to achieve. I know we can do it because I've seen us in difficult times before. We've only succeeded when we've come together as a nation to build. Now is the time for you to join the party of builders, the Democratic Alliance.